Hello guys, welcome back to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz, and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. Or at least we should be if I wasn't so damn busy. Apologies for the lack of videos over the last couple of weeks. Again, I'm making a map for the Assassinateville competition and I'm trying really hard to get it finished on time. It's being a real pain in the arse at the moment, but we're getting there. Unfortunately that means there just isn't enough time to put videos out on the channel as well, so there's going to be a whole slew of videos after I've submitted this map to Philip, I think. I can dedicate all my free time back to this again. So this is Terminus by Dan Jordan. It is the third map in the Assassinateville competition, and in my opinion I think the strongest release in here, both visually and gameplay wise as well. It's a pretty interesting map to have a look at because you generally don't see a lot of maps like this in Half-Life 2, and I really wish you would, because it gives a lot more player choice than is generally presented in most levels. So you start off with this giant vista at the start and you're basically given three choices on how you want to enter the base. You've got this sandy kind of low road here, which is the most dangerous path to take actually, because it uses the same mechanic as in sand traps in Half-Life 2, where if you tread on the sand you're going to get antlines in your face, and generally they'll kick your ass because you've only got a pistol and a gravity gun. The second option is again round on this side. You can climb up the hills here and go in via this way. Although there's not much cover here, so it gets a little bit difficult to actually stay hidden from the Combine if you take this route. And then the final option is to just go straight down the centre. This doesn't work too well because there's a Combine force field right in your way. So you end up having to take one of the side routes at first before turning off the Combine force fields. Now, I'm not very good at stealth games, so generally this is the kind of thing that tends to happen when I play them. Everyone sees me, and then I get attacked, and probably die. But there's some interesting scripting going on with the Combine soldiers, so I'm guessing there's a lot of AI relationship setups with lots of trigger multiples all over the place, kind of allowing the player to move around without being seen, or at least giving that impression. It's not quite perfect here, but again, for a mapping competition in 10 days, I think we can let a couple of rough edges slide, because for the most part it does work. The real issue is actually getting into the base through any route aside from the antline route is actually very difficult not to be seen, because there's really not enough cover. As you jump over the wall right at the start, there's just got this giant swath of land with no cover in it at all, and Combine soldiers basically staring directly at you the whole time, so it's really hard to actually get anywhere without being seen. So once combat does inevitably start, you are given a lot of options for movement around though. A lot of this map actually reminds me of games like Deus Ex or Dishonored, with the fact that you're given a combat area but there's lots and lots of different hidey holes and different ways to explore the arena and hide from enemies. A lot of them I thought I'd never really use, but in this playthrough I ended up using most of them, including these little tunnels underneath the arena here, which I figured no one would ever really use. It felt like a bit of a redundant thing in here, but here I am, making great use of them here. This playthrough did kind of go a little bit wrong. I got my ass handed to me right at the start, but I managed to pull it back together through careful use of the environment. An interesting thing is, no matter which route you take, you're kind of funneled into the final objective, so it's really hard to get lost. You're always kind of being pushed in the right direction. Even though it always feels like you're making a choice on where you want to go and what you want to do, you always kind of end up in the same general place, which I do kind of like. There's a bit of AI strangeness going on. There's a couple of enemies which don't really react when you shoot them, or there's a couple of enemies that just tend to spot you from across the map while others will totally ignore you. But again, it's a 10-day mapping competition. I'm sure these bugs would have been fixed if the guy had more time. That could have just been the end of the playthrough there, if I'd been a couple more feet in front of myself. So I guess the main issue with this map is that because the AI is scripted to ignore you in certain places through the use of relationships and trigger multiple, it kind of feels a little bit unnatural. You walk up to an enemy, and where they should spot you, they don't react. And while it's created that way on purpose so that you can get around the map, hopefully without being seen, it does end up feeling very, very unnatural, which ends up being a bit of a jarring experience, because you kind of expect not to be able to go places, so you don't even try. Whereas once I've played the map a couple of times, I found that I could actually get around the map undetected sometimes, and other times they would spot me. It was a little bit kind of all over the place, really. But I like the concept, but I just think Half-Life's AI lacks any kind of real stealth mechanics. Even if you kind of build them into the map using AI relationships, it's very, very hard to get right. There's just not enough substance to the system. Once an enemy spots you, they never really forget that you're there or anything like that. And so we make it to the building that the target is hiding in. And again, this is another great example of kind of non-linear level design. So the target is in the building, but it's really up to you how you want to get in there. There's a front door you can get in. There's a sewer system that you just saw the entrance to there. There's even some entrances on the second floor if you can get up there. Things like broken holes in walls and things like that, which you can jump up onto and get in that way. I'm going to go in through the basement area because that's probably the most interesting way to get in, because there's a little bit more to see down here. A couple of zombies. Of course, that death pose really stands out these days. Half-Life players always know when zombies are going to get up now. It's really, really hard to hide. I always think like the best way to do it these days, because everyone recognizes the animations so well, to kind of hide them in kind of low-lying water and things like that, so the players can't actually see them. So the great thing about coming in from the basement route is that the Combine don't notice you when you come up here, so you can kind of sneak up on them a little bit here. This is something I really like as well. The map does kind of reward stealth in a way, through ideas like this, that you can kind of get the drop on Combine soldiers. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really a stealth map at all. You always have to end up fighting something. You can't really get through the entire map in a kind of non-lethal way. The game just isn't built like that. But it's nice that there are these little nuggets placed around the map which you can make use of. Now, speaking of visuals for a moment here, the actual control tower is amazing looking. I really, really like it. It's got that classic Combine design feel, but it reminds me of things like, if you remember in Minerva, when the giant portal opens and the ships fly through, you've got that Combine control center on one side of the area. And this area reminds me of that a lot. It's got that same kind of, I want to call it like a stealth bomber architecture. It's kind of got these, you know, jagged lines, but it still looks very, very sleek. It's very, very cool. And now we have to take down the gunship. This fight, I didn't really like it, if I'm honest. The main issue I had here is that the first time I played this map, I couldn't find extra rockets. Of course, they're hidden up here up the ladder, but I just didn't think to check up there. And on my first playthrough, I think I was fairly low on health at this point, so I really didn't just want to run out into the open up there and pick up rockets. So I don't really like the placement of the rocket crate here, because the player has no idea it's there unless he just decides to go up the ladder. But the fight itself is fairly good. There's plenty of cover. Kind of have to be a little bit careful when the gunship comes around the front side, because you've got all the glass which you can shoot through. This map is kind of the same issue I had in Lost at Sea, where it's really, really difficult to hide the skybox transition. And the map ends up looking like it's just in a giant box. I really like the foliage and kind of hills off in the distance. That's done really nicely. For a 10-day map, it looks gorgeous. I don't think there's really any arguing that the map looks great for the time limit put into it. And once we killed the target, we have to go back to the car at the beginning. Of course, because we took the Rambo approach to coming in here, everything's dead now, but perhaps it would have been nice to have a little event on the way back to the car, perhaps a dropship or something like that, dropping off extra troops. So, I guess to close out, I really like this map. I love the amount of player choice it gives. I thought the stealth was done adequately, but of course it's more down to the Half-Life 2 AI more than anything the mapper did. And it looks fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing more from this author. Hopefully he puts out more maps. The name doesn't ring a bell, Dan Jordan. Maybe he has released other maps and I'm just completely blanking on it right now, but I can't think of anything. Okay guys, so this weekend is the deadline for Ravenholmville. All of you guys that are mapping for it, I wish you good luck. Looking forward to playing your maps. Now next week I'm going to be doing a massive catch up on the channel, playing all the releases that I haven't got around to yet. So once again I apologise for the lack of content, but I'll be getting back to it in the next couple of weeks. So I'll see you next time.